Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Abhineet Shukla and with me is Reshma Tiwari, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India and Iran discuss maritime trade to expand trade between Central Asian countries with South Asian, ASEAN and Japan. 12 people killed in Mogadishu hotel attack by Al-Shabaab militants. India condemns terror incident and says New Delhi stands with Somalia. US announces $775 million additional military aid for Ukraine. Indian Air Force participates in exercise Pitch Black 2022 in Australia. In cricket, India beat Zimbabwe by 5 wickets in second ODI at Harare to seal 3-match series 2-0. And in Durand Cup football, Rajasthan United beat ATK Mohan Bagan and match between Chennaiyin FC and Army Red ends in a draw. India's Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Sarbananda Sonowal visited the Shahid Beheshti port at Chabahar in Iran on Saturday to review the progress of the port. He is on a 3-day visit to Iran and United Arab Emirates. The Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways in a statement said that in an effort to invigorate the potential of Chabahar port, Mr. Sonowal also handed over 6 mobile harbour cranes to Indian Ports Global Chabahar Free Trade Zone. Iranian Deputy Minister and Managing Director of Ports and Maritime Organization, Dr. Ali Akbar Safai, was also present on this occasion. Mr. Sonowal and Dr. Safai had a fruitful meeting on development of maritime and port cooperation between Iran and India. Both sides discussed the possibilities of trade and unlock trade potential between Central Asian countries with South Asian, ASEAN and even from Far East countries like Japan and Korea. It was also decided to form a joint technical committee for smooth functioning of the port. The meeting also addressed the future course of action towards development of the port. On the occasion, Mr. Sonowal said that India remains fully committed to develop the Chabahar port to realize the vision set during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Iran in 2016. Since India Ports Global Private Limited assumed operations of Shahid Beheshti port, it has handled over 4.8 million tons of bulk cargo. The 16th Foreign Office consultations between India and Singapore were held in Singapore on Friday. It was co-chaired by Secretary East in Ministry of External Affairs, Saurabh Kumar. We have a report.
The two sides reviewed the entire gamut of bilateral relations and expressed satisfaction at the present level of engagements. They emphasized the importance of bilateral political exchanges to realize the full potential of the partnership. The delegations also discussed enhancing cooperation in a number of areas, including trade and investment, startups and innovation, fintech and smart cities. Defence cooperation between both countries was also reviewed. The two sides noted the increase in tourist arrivals from India in recent months and the need to further facilitate travel. Given that Singapore is the current country coordinator for India in ASEAN, the two sides exchanged views on the India-ASEAN engagements and raising of the relationship to a higher level. Views also exchanged on regional and international issues of mutual interest. The two sides reiterated the firm commitment to work towards further strengthening of India-Singapore multifaceted relations and deepening of the strategic partnership. With the report of Suparna, this is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay for World News, All India Radio, New Delhi.
BIMSTEC Secretary General Tenzin Lechfeld will visit India from 22nd to the 25th of August. At the 5th Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation Summit held in Sri Lanka in March this year, leaders of the member states adopted its charter. BIMSTEC comprises Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Thailand. India had stressed the importance of rapidly consolidating this newly created regional organization and to moving BIMSTEC cooperation to the next level. Mr. Tenzin Lechfeld will hold discussions with senior Indian officials on how to make the organization and cooperation forward in keeping with the mandate of the organization. India leads the security cooperation pillar on the BIMSTEC platform that includes disaster management, marine cooperation and energy security. India's Education, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship Minister Dharmendra Pradhan is on a 4-day visit to Australia to strengthen Indo-Australian ties and explore the connect, collaborate and cooperate aspect in education and skill development. In a statement, Mr. Pradhan said reforms in India's education sector and the renewed vigour in India-Australia bilateral relations open up immense opportunities for both sides to establish the knowledge economy as a key pillar of cooperation. He expressed confidence that the visit will add momentum to the unity of purpose, help build transnational knowledge bridges, further broaden the engagements at all levels in all areas of learning. Mr. Pradhan said the visit will also help in skilling, research, innovation and entrepreneurship and deepen people-to-people connect. The minister will interact with the Indian diaspora on Sunday. On Monday, he will visit Western Sydney University to co-chair the 6th meeting of the Australia-India Education Council with his Australian counterpart, Ms. Jason Clare. An Indian Air Force contingent is participating in Exercise Pitch Black 2022 in Australia. It is being held from Friday to the 8th of September in Darwin. This is a biennial multinational exercise hosted by the Royal Australian Air Force. It is focusing on large force employment warfare. The exercise will see the participation of over 100 aircrafts and 2,500 military personnel from various air forces. The Indian Air Force contingent, led by Group Captain YPS Negi, comprises over 100 air warriors deployed with 4 Su-30 MKI fighter and 2 C-17 aircraft. They will undertake multi-domain air combat missions in a complex environment and will exchange best practices with the participating air forces.
India supplied the 10th tranche of medical assistance to Afghanistan on Saturday as part of its ongoing humanitarian assistance. It was handed over to the Indira Gandhi Hospital, Kabul. In view of the urgent appeals made by the United Nations to assist the Afghan people, New Delhi has so far supplied 32 tons of medical assistance in 10 batches, which include essential life-saving medicines, anti-TB medicines, 5 lakh doses of COVID vaccine. These medical consignments have been handed over to the World Health Organization and Indira Gandhi Children's Hospital, Kabul. The Indian Coast Guard rescued 10 Bangladeshi fishermen from the Bay of Bengal on Saturday. The Coast Guard ship Anmol rescued them 12 nautical miles from the international maritime boundary with Bangladesh in an operation which was continuing for the last 2 days. The Indian Coast Guard in a tweet said that the search for the remaining 2 missing Bangladeshi fishermen is in progress by its ships and aircraft. The fishermen had got caught in the cyclonic weather which started on 19th of August. They are being brought to Haldia for further formalities to return them back to Bangladesh. Meanwhile, the Indian Coast Guard team also coordinated in rescuing of 18 crew members of an Indian fishing boat.
In Somalia, at least 12 people have been killed after Al-Shabaab militants stormed the Hyatt Hotel in the capital Mogadishu on Friday night. Attackers detonated at least 2 explosives outside the hotel before entering the building and opening fire. Continued gunfire and explosions were reported on Saturday as security forces battled an unknown number of gunmen still inside holding hostages. Dozens of guests and staff members have been rescued. Muhammad, an intelligence officer, said that so far 12 people, mostly civilians, have died. The director of Mogadishu's main trauma hospital, Dr. Muhammad Abdurrahman Jama, told a news agency that at least 40 people have been injured. This is the first attack in the capital by Al-Shabaab since new President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud took office in May this year. Meanwhile, India has strongly condemned the attack in Mogadishu and expressed heartfelt condolences to the victims and families of this cowardly act of terrorism. MEA spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said India stands with the government and people of Somalia in their fight against terrorism. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion tackling the challenges of terrorism.
A targeted United States drone attack in the Afghan capital Kabul killed Ayman al-Zawahiri, one of the world's most wanted terrorists, on whose head there was a $25 million bounty also placed. Announcing the killing from the White House, US President Joe Biden said, now justice has been delivered and this terrorist leader is no more. Al-Zawahiri's killing concluded a 21-year-old global manhunt and marks the end of an era for the lethal terrorist organization. Zawahiri, an Egyptian-trained surgeon, founded the Al-Qaeda bin Laden in 1988 and took over the organization after bin Laden's death in 2011. He is reputed to be the mastermind who helped coordinate the September 11, 2001 attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. He is also meant to be among those responsible for the assassination of former Egyptian President Anwar al-Sadat nearly 4 decades ago. Al-Zawahiri had resurfaced recently earlier this summer and indicated various efforts at recruiting cadres in India. His presence in Afghanistan, however, also shows that the new Taliban regime has continued to maintain its links with Al-Qaeda and that the terrorist infrastructure in that country remains intact. We are joined by Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, who will explain to us the implications of this killing for India and for the region. While the killing is going to come of Al-Zawahiri is going to come as a relief to the civilized world, his presence in Afghanistan clearly indicates that the Taliban regime there has not delivered on its commitment to keep the country away from the global terrorist network. So what does killing particularly mean for India and for the region?
As you have said very rightly, he took up the reins of Al-Qaeda in 2011, a few months after Osama bin Laden was killed by the US SEALs. And he has been, of course, at the forefront of various terrorist attacks that have been taking place. Over the last 10 years, of course, he has been helping out the Taliban in its fight against the US forces in Afghanistan, against the ISAF forces in Afghanistan. And I think considerable credit for the fact that Taliban was able to come back into power in Kabul really goes to Ayman al-Zawahiri and Al-Qaeda. Of course, the Taliban rulers, and particularly whether it is Sirajuddin Haqqani or all the others who have been involved with this, they have been claiming that there is no threat, there is no danger to the civilized world from terrorist groups in Afghanistan. In fact, just in an interview that was given by Sirajuddin Haqqani to the CNN a few hours before this killing took place, he had mentioned that Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan is dead. He said Al-Qaeda does not exist in Afghanistan. So I think we really need to see, number one, that all the claims and the commitments that the Taliban dispensation has been making over the last 1 year, that it is quite clear that they have not stuck to their word which was given in Doha when the Doha Accords were signed, and also all their protestations of being against any terrorist group, that they are not going to support any terrorist group, that all those claims have fallen flat. Nilova.
Absolutely. Ashok, while they've been protesting even his killing and saying that the United States has reneged on its agreement signed at Doha with the Taliban, the fact actually remains, as you rightly pointed out, that the Taliban have completely reneged on all of their agreements with the others. And Al-Zawahiri's presence in the heart of Kabul clearly indicates that. But can we, how would this man's removal help India particularly in its war against terrorism? I mean, we have been trying our hardest to keep our region, our country and our region free of terrorist influences. Will this go a long way to that extent?
I think it will have a very significant salutary impact on the spread and rise of terrorism in the region. Of course, when there is a big body like the Al-Qaeda and the leadership goes, that really deals a body blow to that organization. And I think it will take it quite a long time for it to recover. Now, as far as Al-Qaeda is concerned, that is also, as you mentioned in your introductory comments also, they have, it's not only, of course, Al-Qaeda, it's also the Islamic State that has been making all these, saying that what are the actions that they are going to take against India in terms of, because of the policies that are being pursued, as they claim, by the Indian establishment, by the Indian government. So Al-Qaeda has also been making these claims that what are their plans as far as India is concerned. So I think that is going to get a big blow with the killing of Ayman al-Zawahiri. The second is that it will put also the Taliban administration, it will put them on the back foot. It will sort of, put them in a corner, because it has now become very clear that whatever they have been claiming, whatever they have been, the protestations that they have been making, that that has all been a smokescreen. That has all been, devoid of any accuracy or factual content. And their statements are going to be going forward. They are going to be treated with great suspicion and will not have any credibility. Lastly, I think the United States has also demonstrated by its action that although it might have left last year at the end of August, but they still continue to be engaged as far as this region is concerned. You would recall that the United States has been in very active deliberations and conversation with several of these Central Asian countries, particularly Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, whose foreign ministers have been in the United States in recent months, basically trying to see if they can have some over-the-horizon capabilities that can be established in those regions, in those countries. And also, as far as Tajikistan is concerned, because Tajikistan is the only country which has refused to engage in any manner whatsoever with the Taliban administration. So the president of Tajikistan was in Europe, was in New York. So I think they are also trying to see that the terrorism from Afghanistan does not go out to other countries.
Given these circumstances, Ashok, the man has been taken out in a very clean kind of way, one must admit, given what visuals, what one has been seeing. There hasn't been any great collateral damage and so on. So is this likely to also put, say, the Pakistani ISI establishment on the back foot? Because they have, of course, as we all know, been very close with the Taliban. And it is unlikely that the presence of somebody like an al-Zawahiri in Kabul would have been unknown to them.
Oh, you are very right, Nilova. I don't think that Pakistan and the ISI was oblivious of this fact. Not at all. You would recall that when these changes were taking place, then last year on 15th of August, the Taliban moved into Kabul. But at the beginning of September, on the 4th or 5th September, we had the ISI, DGISI chief, Faiz Hamid. He had come to Kabul, and you would recall very well the sort of arrogance and hubris and insolence with which he conducted himself, saying that, he had come for a trade mission or something of that sort. So obviously the ISI has been involved very closely with the Taliban before, when they were fighting against the US forces, against the NATO forces. And ISI was also behind the attack on the Panjshir complex in early September last year. We have seen that the ISI and Taliban relationship in recent months has gone rather sour. Even in fact, relations between Taliban and the Islamabad as well as Rawalpindi, they have not been particularly good, both because of the issue as far as the Durand Line is concerned, and also as far as the activities of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan are concerned. What the Afghan Taliban has said is that they will try to control the activities, but they have done nothing of that sort. They have tried to put the Pakistan establishment and TTP to come in contact. There have been very small-scale temporary ceasefires, but that has really not helped. But Pakistan has also been using the Al-Qaeda for its own purposes.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
This is All India Radio, giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
The United States government has announced additional military aid for Ukraine valued at up to $775 million. Officials said that the package will include ammunition for the high mobility artillery rocket systems known as HIMARS, 16 howitzers along with 36,000 rounds for the artillery and high-speed anti-radiation missiles that target radar systems. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that the courage and strength of Ukraine's military and its people are extraordinary, and the United States will continue to provide additional systems and capabilities for Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tweeted on Friday to thank U.S. President Joe Biden for the decision. Adding that Ukraine will be free, Zelensky said, "We have taken another important step to defeat the aggressor." This would bring the total U.S. military aid sent to Ukraine to $10.6 billion since the Russian military attack on February the 24th. In Turkey, 16 people were killed in southeast of the country on Saturday when a bus crashed into emergency workers and journalists who were attending an earlier accident on a highway near the city of Gaziantep. Regional Governor Davut Gul said the dead included 3 firefighters, 4 emergency health workers and 2 drone operators from a Turkish news agency. Taiwan's defense ministry said 17 Chinese aircraft and 5 Chinese ships were detected operating around Taiwan on Saturday as Beijing continued military activities near the island. It said this included 4 aircraft that crossed the Taiwan state's median line, which in normal times acts as an unofficial barrier between the two sides.
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for the 1.3 billion citizens across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with a series, Azad Bharat Ki Baat, Akashvani ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio.
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ स्वतंत्रता के 75 वर्ष का उत्सव, जीवंत यात्रा की स्मृतियां, स्वतंत्र भारत की उपलब्धियां और कुछ रोमांचक पल। तो आप भी जुड़िए और सुनना न भूलें 15 अगस्त से प्रतिदिन हमारे FM गोल्ड 100.1 और दूसरे चैनलों पर आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ।
In today's episode, we bring you the story of Iron Man of India, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel.
As the first Home Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, Sardar Patel played the key role in the integration of the 565 princely states into the Indian Federation. Even today, he is remembered as the man who united India. Mahatma Gandhi had said to Patel that the problem of integration of the states is so difficult that he alone can solve it. Patel was considered a statesman of integrity with a practical acumen and resolve to accomplish a monumental task.
छोटे छोटे जो वाड़े हैं उससे बहुत नुकसान होता है और जिस चीज से मुल्क को फायदा नहीं होता है इस चीज से आकर हमको खुद को भी नुकसान होता है। वो चीज हमें समझ के हमें जो हिंदुस्तान आज सदियों के बाद एक हुआ है और एक मौका मिला है और एक अवसर हमारे पास आया है वो गुमाना नहीं चाहिए।
He invoked the patriotism of India's monarchs, asking them to join in the independence of the nation and act as responsible rulers who cared about the future of the people. While encouraging the rulers to act out of patriotism, he did not rule out force. He persuaded almost every princely state to accede to India.
जब सार्वभौम सत्ता हिंदुस्तान में से अपना बिस्तरा लपेट के चली और जब उसने ऐलान किया कि इधर पैरामाउंट से खत्म होती है, उस समय पर मुल्क में क्या होगा और मुल्क एक रहेगा या तो उसका टुकड़ा टुकड़ा हो जाएगा, उस बारे में बहुत लोगों का अलग अलग ख्याल था और बहुत लोग चिंता में गिरे थे। लेकिन जो राजा महाराजाओं थे उसमें से बहुतों ने काफी स्वदेशाभिमान बताया और भारत की सरकार को साथ दिया। उसके लिए मैं आज इन लोगों को धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं।
Sardar Patel is also remembered as the patron saint of India's civil servants for having established the modern All India Services system.
आजाद भारत की बात आकाशवाणी के साथ can be accessed on @AIR News Alerts on Twitter, News on AIR official YouTube channel, News on AIR app, Facebook and Instagram handles. So tune in to All India Radio News for Azad Bharat Ki Baat, Akashwani ke saath.
Now on to sports. In cricket, India defeated Zimbabwe by 5 wickets in the second one-day international at Harare. The hosts set the target of 162 runs. The men in blue achieved the target with 146 balls remaining. Sanju Samson remained the top scorer with 43 runs in 39 balls. The Zimbabwe were all out for 161 runs in 38.1 overs. Shardar Thakur clinched 3 wickets for Indian side. Now India has the unassailable lead of 2-0 in the 3-match series. Interestingly, Zimbabwe cricket dedicated Saturday's game to the cause of children's cancer. They donated $500 and a Zimbabwe jersey to a 6-year-old. In Durand Cup football, Rajasthan United defeated ATK Mohun Bagan 3-2 at Salt Lake Stadium in Kolkata in Indian state of West Bengal on Saturday. Earlier, the match between Chennaiyin FC and Army Red ended in a draw at Homan Lampak Stadium, Imphal. Both the teams scored 2 goals each. And now let's listen to our special segment, Popuri.
Africa's migratory birds are threatened by changing weather patterns in the center and east of the continent that have depleted natural water systems and caused a devastating drought. Hotter and drier conditions due to climate change make it difficult for traveling species who are losing their water sources and breeding grounds. Roughly 10% of Africa's more than 2,000 bird species, including dozens of migratory birds, are threatened. As many as 20 species, such as the Madagascar fish eagle, the Taita falcon, and hooded vultures, are classed as critically endangered. Over 1/3 of them are especially vulnerable to climate change and extreme weather, an analysis by environmental group BirdLife International said. BirdLife Policy Coordinator Ken Morphy said that migratory birds are affected more than other groups of birds because they must keep on moving. A study by the United Nations Environment Agency and conservation group Wetlands International has found that an estimated 87% of African sites are at risk from climate change, a greater proportion than in Europe or Asia.
Around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post writes that Chinese leader asked US President Biden to prevent Pelosi from visiting Taiwan. The Financial Times writes that German central bank chief wants inflation to hit 70-year high. The Japan Times reports police to revise rules for VIP protection after Abe killing. The Himalayan Times says that the government and the private sector have urged Indian investors to invest in Nepal. A quick look at the headlines once again. India and Iran discuss maritime trade to expand trade between Central Asian countries with South Asia, ASEAN and Japan. 12 people killed in Mogadishu hotel attack by Al-Shabaab militants. India condemns terror incident and says New Delhi stands with Somalia. US announces $775 million additional military aid for Ukraine. Indian Air Force participates in exercise Pitch Black 2022 in Australia. In cricket, India beat Zimbabwe by 5 wickets in second one-day international at Harare to seal the 3-match series 2-0. And in Durand Cup football, Rajasthan United beat ATK Mohun Bagan and match between Chennaiyin FC and Army Red ends in a draw. And now before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishno Jan by artists from Nigeria.
वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए पीर पराई जाने रे पर दुखे उपकार करे कोई मन सकल लोकमा सहुने वंदे निंदा न करे नीरे.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.